Hey everybody, Michael Johnson here with Magic for Life. Thanks for joining us today on the podcast. And today, I want to know if you feel stuck. Are you feeling like you can't move, if you can't get going forward, or if you know you have something you want to do, or you know you want to get moving and you feel stuck? Well, let's talk about getting curious. Hi, my name is Michael Johnson, and I'm part of a motivated group of people who are dedicated to attaining emotional mastery and unlocking our full potential. We don't believe others are responsible for how we feel. In fact, we don't believe anyone can make us feel anything. Emotional mastery is our journey, and unlocking our true potential is the key. We are Magic for Life, and this is your weekly Magic. Hey guys, I am so excited you could join us today, and as I said before, we're going to talk about getting curious. It's one of the ideas that is near and dear to my heart because honestly, this is really where it all begins. I'd like to tell you a bit of a story. Back when I had just graduated from college, I was working with a good friend of mine. I actually consider her a mentor and somebody that I've always looked up to in business and in life. And we were working on some dancing, actually. I was teaching her to dance. And the irony in it is that even though I was teaching her to dance at the time, I felt like, looking back at it now, she was actually teaching me so much more. She was actually on the other side of it, kind of influencing my life and guiding me to become a better person. But I had fallen into this state where I wasn't reading. And after I had graduated, I was like, I am so done. I'm so done studying. I am so done reading books. I'm so done with that side of my life. You know, I thought, man, I put in my time. I've gone to school for all of these years. I got my lower education. I went into college. I got my higher education. I got a degree. And I was so done. I was so done listening to teachers in college that really hadn't gone out and done what they were teaching me about. They were just teaching me from books, and they were giving me dumb tests that were not really representative of what I was going to do and what I was doing in the world. So I was done, finished. But as I got in and I got to know this amazing lady, she very slowly but surely taught me this great lesson. I remember one day I was talking to her and about what she was doing. We were working on some dance step, but I was asking her about what was going on in her life. And she said, you know what, I have to go to class tomorrow, so I won't be able to do the lesson that we were planning at the next time. And I said, well, what class do you have? I mean, we're talking about a lady who was easily in her late 50s. And I said, a class? What class are you going to? And she goes, oh, I'm taking a class on geology. And I said, geology? Why are you taking a class on geology? She said, because I'm interested in it. And I was so taken aback. And I said, well, so you're just doing a class because you wanted to do it? And she goes, no, actually, I'm getting my degree. In fact, I only have a couple more classes left before I get a bachelor's degree in geology. And I thought, man, why do you want a bachelor's degree in geology? You want to study about rocks? Like, you're in your late 50s, and she was a very successful woman in all sorts of endeavors. And I was so confused, and she could tell I was confused. So she was like, well, I'm interested in it, and it's so curious. And she started telling me about geology. In fact, over the next little while, she taught me all sorts of things about geology. She taught me about different things with rocks and how the tectonic plates moved and created mountains, and how she loved to look at the mountains and the rocks and how they were created. And she was so interested in it and seemingly so passionate about it. I was so confused, though. And she could tell I was confused. But little by little, she showed me through example what it was that she was doing. She was curious. She got curious about this subject. Instead of just sitting there and doing nothing about it, she decided, hey, you know what? In my free time, I'm going to go sign up for a class. Well, she didn't really go just sign up for a class. What she found out was to take the one class or the few classes that she wanted to, she actually had to be signed up to take a degree. So she signed up at one of the local colleges, and they, of course, accepted her because she had 2 other degrees, or 3, I think, at that point. And, of course, they took her on, and she started doing this geology. And she was maybe a couple classes short of her degree, but she wasn't really interested in the degree. And I got that from her over a period of time, that she just really had no interest in it. She was more interested in actually just learning the stuff. So how about that? She was learning about geology because she wanted to. And so many times we just go through our day and go through our life going, well, that'd be interesting. I'd love to know more about that. And most people put it down and they walk away. One of the things that I found so cool about this lady that became my mentor and somebody I've always looked up to and still do today is that when she finds something that she's interested in or curious about, she goes and does it. What? What's that about? She goes and does it. Now, she has tons of things that she's done through her life, and some of them she uses to earn her a good living and to provide for her family, and as she used to always say, keep her family accustomed to the style in which they've learned to live. And it's been great. It was so fun to watch, and through the years of knowing her, I learned about so many things from her. I was, at the time, her dance instructor and coach, and the irony in it is I feel like I learned more from my time period with her than I did in college, because she constantly challenged me to find out about what it was that I asked. And through this period of time, I got really curious. And I started thinking, man, what about this or what about that? And the things that she was interested in, I started getting interested in as well because I got curious. And so I learned about rocks for a while until she got into some other stuff. But as we went along, she started saying, well, what are you interested in? And I thought, well, gosh, at the time it was dance and that was my life. And she knew that, but she said, well, what else are you interested in? Well, like so many kids, okay, I was a kid at the time, and like so many kids that grew up through the video game era, I was like, well, I like video games. And she's like, well, okay, but besides that, there's got to be something else that you're curious about. And little by little, she dug out that I was indeed curious about many, many things. And as I started to find this need for filling this cup of mine of being educated, but I didn't call it that. It was just being curious. It was being interested in things that came up. And at the time, as silly as it sounds nowadays, there was no Google that we could just go, oh, let's type it in our phones. That really wasn't a thing. I mean, it was just in its infancy. And so if we were curious about it, it wasn't at our fingertips so we could Google it and learn about it right then and there. And we had to actually go and look it up, go get a book, go read about it, go to the library, do crazy things like that. Now, that seems crazy to some of the younger kids now, because if they have a question, they just search it on Google. In fact, they don't even have to type it in. They just talk to Google and they get the answer. Well, at least an answer. And they can do some research and learn about it. But the main idea was that through this time that I had with my mentor, she taught me to be curious. She taught me to be really interested in the way things worked, the way something was happening or why something occurred. And she taught me to get curious again, not because I was trying to get a degree or because of anything other than I wanted to learn about it. And there are things, of course, that we are passionate about and that we take the initiative to put our full heart and soul into. And we start going after that thing and we start learning about it and sort of immersing ourselves in that thing. And those things, obviously, we had to get curious about, but there are other things, even just the little things. Get curious about it. Something happens, get curious about it. I try to teach the clients that I have currently how to do that, how to be curious. And I don't do it by telling them, you must be curious. I do it by being curious myself. Well, gosh, how does that happen? Well, gosh, what makes that a thing? I wonder where that came from. I wonder where that saying came from. I wonder how this happens or what makes this occur, or I wonder where this came from. I wonder how that's made. Guys, get curious. Your ability to get curious will fuel some of your passions and maybe some of the passions that you haven't created yet or haven't come upon yet. This amazing mentor of mine, she would take the time to get curious about certain things. And some of them she'd learn about, and that would be it. She'd learn about them for a little bit, and then she'd move right on. But some of them caught her eye, like her geology and many other things along the way. And if you were privileged enough to know this lady, she knew a lot about everything. And it was amazing the stuff that she had on her plate and how educated she was. Some of the things she took and she ran with and she became passionate about and made them amazing. And some of the things she just learned about and moved right along. And ever since I've known her, I've tried to get in this idea of getting curious. And that's what I'd like to pass on to you today. I want you to get curious. I want you to go and look at your world differently. When something happens, don't just go, bleh, okay, done. Not dealing with it anymore. But get curious. Get curious. What do you have to do to get curious? Well, it's easy. These days, you have a smartphone, most of you, that will answer any questions you have. In fact, many of the questions that you could come up with, even spontaneously, could be answered just by opening up Google and saying, hey, how does this happen? You can even use your voice to say it. It types it in, it goes and gets you hundreds of responses from the internet, and you can start looking through and deciding what is accurate, what's true, what's not true, and sifting through the information to see if you can gain some new knowledge. There's so much knowledge out there. In fact, not only can you do that on Google, but you can do it on YouTube and get a video about it. You can learn so much in minutes worth of time. And it's all free, and it's all out there for you to just absorb and get curious and learn something that could change your life. And the funny thing about it is that it could be a thing that has nothing to do with your passion that you were just curious about for a second. And that thing now leads you to the next thing and the next thing. And all of a sudden you find this thing that you're passionate about, and something you learned down the road that you were curious about shows up for you and changes your life. And it changes your world. And then it changes other people's world. And that's what we need to do. We need to start changing other people's worlds. Here's the thing. Get curious. Start today. Just the next time you think, gosh, I wonder how that happens, just immediately pick up your phone and, as my kids now say, search it up. I love it. My two oldest, they're 11 and 13 right now. And that's what they'll say. If we don't know something, or if we're driving along, or we say something that we don't know the answer to, they'll say, Dad, how does this happen? I'll say, I don't know. And they'll immediately go, search it up. And so they'll pull out their phone, or they'll ask one of us to pull out our phone and search it up. So that's what I'm saying. Get curious. Start the process. Search it up. And start to fill your mind with these things that you're curious about and learn all of the information. There's so much out there in the world for us to learn about and get curious about and be able to fulfill our soul. So go get curious. Go out there, get curious. I'm glad you joined us today. I hope that helps. Please, if you liked the podcast and if you like what you've heard so far, like and share it with your friends. We'd love to get this information out to lots of people. I'd love to share all of this great knowledge that I have with many people. So like and share. If you have some comments or whatever, comment on the platform that you're using, whether it's iTunes or Google Play or Stitcher or whatever it is that you're on. Go ahead and comment below. We'd love to hear from you. And check us out. Don't forget to check us out at magicforlife.com. We'll see you soon. Michael Johnson, Magic for Life. Are you loving Magic for Life? Please like and share our podcast on iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Want more magic for your life? Join me for some great Facebook Lives on the official Facebook page at Michael A. Johnson Official.